My friends, hello. Welcome back to the Horde of Cold Peeps. This is our Frosty DLC run in the base game, and we are supposed to be following a few given rules. So here they are. Rule number 1 is I have to play in the Frosty DLC, which we're doing. Number 2 is we have to get every single achievement that is possible. I'm pretty sure they all are, but I am a little bit worried about a couple that might not be on this game mode, but we'll check. And number 3, I have to take every single duplicant on offer until we're at 100. And speaking of which, we're ready for another duplicant, so let's take it now. Quinn, I immediately have my eye on you. You have 2 very good skills. Not very bad downsides. Yep, definitely Quinn. All right. Quinn and his bowl cut. All right, so we've got that done. We also have a little bit of business to attend to. I forgot to get this achievement last time. But there you go. Reach a cycle 100 with at least 1 living duplicant. Man, those are some low standards. 1 duplicant at cycle 100. Gotta at least keep one of them alive for that long. All right, there we go. So we've got those done. This video is going to be a lot about improving our food situation for the long term. And I say that mainly because we're still surviving quite a bit off of natural plants, and our rate of taking new duplicants is not going to be slowing down anytime soon. Our oxygen is okay. I also don't really like our oxygen setup, and I don't know if I'll be able to get to it in this video, but the biggest priority for me right now is getting the food situation taken care of. One thing we also need to do for the achievement is get every single type of critter domesticated. So I want to get these poke shells domesticated, partially because we can start getting into these Sani pinch, or Sani shells, I think is what they're called. They put out a new type of food that's like a seafood type of thing. But it takes a little bit of time to get those things up, and they also need to live in a little bit warmer environment. So I'm debating whether to put them actually out in the middle or to put them somewhere else. Not sure yet. I think I will probably carve out a section somewhere over here, maybe, and keep that a little bit warmer for ranching, because it's still kind of nearby all this stuff, especially like the egg sorting area. But the issue with a lot of these other critters is they're going to need a lot warmer space, so maybe I'll just convert this other side all to very warm like environments so that we can ranch those. I basically need to find ways to ranch these new critters in ways that they're not going to die, because one of the changes that we have for the DLC is if critters are in the wrong temperature for even just a little while, they will immediately take damage and die. That's what happens with morbs, and that's why I'm really not relying on them very much, because even if one spawns at this temperature, it just immediately dies. So it might put out a little bit of polluted oxygen, but definitely not worthwhile. So that's why we're doing things differently than the Ultra Supreme Max Difficulty Challenge. So, I do want to start getting into ranching all these other poke shells. I do not want to expand the ranches that we currently have, at least not with any new domesticated critters. I might go around and grab all the wild flocks like these guys, which I probably should have done a little while ago. But I don't want to expand that because that's only going to hurt my food situation for the time being, and I really need to get to a point where we are stabilized in terms of food. So I think I'm going to branch out quite a bit on the map. I'm going to look for new critters to domesticate, and we're going to get started on domesticating some of them. If we can, I'm going to try to check off as many as possible in this video to get progress toward the achievement, because we do need to domesticate every single type of critter that there is, which oddly enough, there is not any additions to this achievement for the ones in the DLC, so we haven't even started on this really. Shine Bug should be pretty easy. We can grab that and get it out of the way, but the rest of these we definitely need to focus on. So I'll start working on at least the poke shells and get them converted into Sani shells, but we need to get more room for them. I'm also interested in getting this guy. This is the Hermit side quest. Here we go. We'll start talking about this when it's time, but I want to get it done before we are maxed on duplicants, because the payout will be another duplicant. A very special duplicant. So there we go. I'm pretty sure I got this. I don't know why when I go into this menu it doesn't clear all those, because it obviously shows me the Man, I have a lot of complaints about their UI, especially in that screen. Uh-oh, who's suffocating? Quinn, get out of there. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Good? Okay. Jeez. These duplicants really know how to keep me on my toes. Okay, so I'm going to start working on carving out a big area for a warmer place to start ranching some of our critters. I also may throw some of them in here, because maybe we can get Sani shells quicker. That's worth looking at. Okay, I will play around with that a little bit, see where we get, and then I'll come back. Let's take another duplicant. Suffocating. Turner, what are you doing? Get out of here. Come on. Come on. Come on. Okay. Good job. Anyway, let's take another duplicant. Got my eye on Ren right away. Noodle arms, not great. Eat more food. Don't really want that. Yeah, ranching, building, suit wearing. Okay, Ren, yes. We also have an achievement to get, so let's do that. Like I mentioned, we would just be designating a few areas as a nature reserve. We don't have to keep this, but I did just throw a couple of park signs in some areas that we already had some mammoths being ranched. So a couple of them here, a whole bunch of random nature reserves around the map now. But that'll just clear the achievement, and now I can plow through the rest of this. All I'm doing is creating some space so that we can designate a warm area for ranching, which I don't know if I'm going to section off entirely into separate duplicants. Maybe I should. Do I want to make another separate colony? Let's not for right now. Although that would make it a lot easier tucking them over on the side. Still really far away. Maybe I'll just make a temporary one that's a little bit warmer for these, what are these called? Poke shells. We'll start ranching those, and I'll just put them in a little area that we can warm up. And I think we'll just roll with that for now. We'll probably make a more permanent home for all the warmer critters somewhere else that's further away from the center, so that we're not sharing temperature as much between two different areas that need to be at different temperatures. So I'll just keep going with the mining operations. Basically, I'm just mining using ladders, and that's so all the debris falls down to the bottom, and when it falls down to one point, we can just ship it all back together instead of having to, you know, make new shipping areas on every single level. So just going to be digging out a whole bunch of stuff, and then we will reserve some space for these poke shells. Time for another duplicate. Got my eye on May pretty quickly. Yeah, the other two I don't think are as good because they don't have as enough interest, so... Yep. Hello, May. And we'll be back. Okay, let's take another duplicant. Harold, why are you sleeping on the ground? Go get in bed. What are you doing? I don't understand. Oh, he's assigned to the wrong side. Okay, whatever. Let's grab another duplicant like we were going to. None of these are all that great. Guess we're just taking someone that has the least amount of downsides. Man. This is... Okay, I guess we're taking Max. This is... No real great choices here. They all have pretty weak skills. Yeah, okay. I'm taking Max. Okay, let's get this area built that we're going to start ranching our Sani shells, or at least start getting to that point. I'm just going to create an area that's walled off with insulated tiles. And we're going to use our good old double liquid lock trick to make sure that none of the heat that's inside gets to the outside and vice versa. Why is there a piece of ice falling? Guess I should probably wait until that gets done, but I can just rush this. So let's prioritize this. There we go. So our double liquid lock, I don't think we're going to need suits. One of the benefits about playing on this difficulty is your duplicants don't get stressed out very easily. So I'm not going to worry too much about suits, but I will at least leave a few spaces just in case we need to add them later for some reason. So we're just going to need 2 liquid locks, and we're just going to build it something like this. And those are just going to be so that no temperature can be exchanged from inside to outside. So there we go, just something like this, pretty straightforward. So we'll get this all set up, and the idea is we'll create a room that's just going to be for ranching the poke shells, and a sorting room for eggs. We will also get them in this critter Flux-O-Matic. I don't know what kind is going to come out of it. And we'll see if we can find any other critters to get this fully activated, because then we can just transform them right away. That would be pretty nice to do and would skip a lot of things. Got a lot of duplicants starving because they don't have access to the right food. I guess we'll just give them access to this again. I keep having to toggle this back on and off, but my, oh, I guess it's all inside there now. Well, I guess we could just do this. And let them in there and grab their own food. Alright. So, yeah, we're just going to be ranching poke shells in here. I'll get the rest of this all built out, and let's montage this. Why not? Let's go ahead and just film this in a few parts, and as soon as it comes up, we'll explain the setup, and then we'll move on to something else. Alright, I'm kind of doing the thing again where I feel a little stuck, and been sitting here for a long time with the game paused. I'm just letting it run now because it's a little bit more interesting to look at. Our terrarium is pretty much ready for these poke shells. So I'm going to move one of them over to this critter Flux-O-Matic. And we are going to morph one of these and see what we get. For the remainder of them, we are going to move them into the terrarium, and I just want to have them sitting in water, because sitting in water will encourage them to lay eggs of the type that we want. I'm not sure how good this is going to be, and I don't know how many to bring in, so I'm just going to bring in a few, at least for now, and see where we get. But I want to start getting to the point where we are hatching a lot of these and then turning them a lot of them into seafood. The meal that I'm going for with this is on the deep fryer. I want to try out these shellfish tempuras. We'll see what we get out of it. It's a lot of morale. I don't know if it's actually worthwhile for everything that we're putting in, because it still does require sleet wheat grain, but we still do have plenty of that. I'm not too worried about running out of sleet wheat grain for sure. And if we need more, we can always get more. But the reason I've been sitting here paused for a while is our oxygen situation is really just on life support here. We're constantly running out of rust or constantly running out of salt. And both of those in conjunction with our alveoveras is basically all we have. This is just not going to last for very much longer, as we've made a huge dent in all the salt and rust and stuff that we should be getting. There's still a lot here, so don't get me wrong, and there's still more that we can get from shipping stuff, but it's just so, like, not performant. So my thought is, let's get after some of these geysers. We haven't unearthed any of them yet, and honestly, this could be pretty much anything, and it would be helpful. So there's one there. There's also one here that I need to get my duplicants on top of. And I'm not going to use the exploit way to tell what's there. We'll do it the real way, since people seem to like that way a lot better. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. There's a duplicant that's on order now, so I'm going to pause. There's definitely got to be more. I don't see very many, and it's not like we're on a geodormant world or anything like that. But I think we need to start getting after geysers and seeing what's in them so we can set up some more permanent things. If we find water of any sort, that's going to be a really big help. Honestly, even a CO2 geyser would help right now, because then we could feed our alveoveras with it and plant even more. I can't believe I'm saying this, but this would be one of the times that actually getting one of those geysers would be helpful. So I'll be unearthing those in the meantime and getting our Sani shells up and moving forward with that. Our food is okay. It's just not super sustainable right now. All right, who do we want here? Mima is looking really good off the bat, but this anemic is not my favorite at all. So I think that probably cancels her out. Let's take Marie. All right, welcome, Marie. So it's going to take a little bit to get everything moved around that I want to get moved around. Let's see if this poke shell wanders into this, because they just need to walk into this side, and then it'll get churned out as a different variant over here on the other side. We might be watching this for a while, seeing when it actually wanders in, but I really want to know what type it's going to turn into. If it's a oak pinch row, that's also not the worst, because they do make wood for us. Oh, come on. You were like one step away. All right, well, we'll see what type we get. And I'll come back when that happens. Oh, maybe it's just talking about it did it. Come on. Wait. Oh, I need to activate it. I'm like, oh, that totally should have done it. All right, so we'll have a duplicant get over here and activate this. And once we know what it is, we'll get that going. And I'll start getting the infrastructure up here for our poke shells. Both the Sani shells and the poke shells will eat polluted dirt, and we are still fortunately producing a lot of that from all of our outhouse usage. So I'll start getting the polluted dirt sent over here instead as food for this. I really need to get this automation up here so we're not constantly pumping. And then once that's up, we will, I think, move on to another food source, which I'm just going to explore around and see what's in these geysers to see if we can make any food off of those. This must be a vent of some sort, so we'll see what that is. We made any progress up here? Yes. Okay, let's see what this is. Maybe we could just have my duplicant speedrun this and not have to go to a break here. Let's see if there's anything else that I need to talk about just for the sake of it. Nah, not really. All right, let's wait for those other things to happen, and then we'll come back and talk about what geysers we got and what our plan is from here. I forgot that sending stuff through this for the first time doesn't actually transform it. But guess what's popping out of here right now? Oh, and needless to say, the poke shell did not do anything. Come on, there we go. It did scan the mammoth, so interesting. Interesting to know. Let's see what this says. Wasn't designed for critters of these proportions. Fortunately, this okay. So I guess it counts as one, but I think if I'm reading that right, that means it does not actually turn into anything else. I'm bringing the other two new ones as well, the Phlox and the, what's this word I'm looking for? The seals. I don't know if it brings in shine bugs or not. We should probably try, because if we can get all 5, then we could probably mess around with this to get these Sani shells out quicker. I'm pretty sure that's what this does. It's been so long since I've messed around with this. But I'm pretty sure that's how it eventually works. It's like to speedrun mutations of these things if you wanted to do that. And I do not want to use these ones. I'd rather take any of the 2 other variants. So let's see what happens with these other 2, assuming anybody's going to be bringing them here anytime soon, which they should be. I'm going to be creating a door here so that the shine bug does not escape and hopefully eventually flies into there. I need to move this mammoth back here, so I'm going to cancel this and just wrangle it. There we go. So we'll see what else we get from this, and we'll see if we can max this out and then start transforming stuff. But not much else has changed. Oh, I guess we did unearth one of the geysers. It's a cool steam vent. Really not worth much at this point. I don't think we can base many things around that. What's this? Chlorine gas vent. Whoa, bah. Oh, these vents are awful so far. Really not helpful in either case. We have plenty of chlorine right now. Jeez. Okay, well, I guess I'm just going to keep digging around and trying to find more vents, because we really need to get on something else for our oxygen. We're going to have to start doing some weird stuff if that doesn't come through in the next little bit. So I think this next part will just be me exploring really hard, trying to get critters for the critter Flux-O-Matic, and hopefully not dying in the meantime. So that should be a good plan, right? Not dying? Okay, we're done with our critter Flux-O-Matic. Let's see what we can get. So we got ourselves a ceramic morb. Yay. So let me start throwing these poke shells in here, and let's morph them into the kinds that we want, and then move them back. I guess there's not really a smoother way to do this, although we won't really have this problem once they start laying the right eggs. So once they do that, that'll be another food source that gets online, but it'll take a little while for that to start to pay out. So that's at least part of our journey done here, is just helping out our food. Our food will also start kicking in with all of the ranching that we're doing as well, because previously it had really not been doing all that much in terms of like how long it takes for this to turn back around. Like we had no eggs here a little while ago, and these things take forever to hatch. So eventually that will be coming online, but we basically have not been getting any meat for a little while, only because these eggs take so long to hatch. So that's definitely something that's going to happen. I'll just hit OK on this. So cool. We'll start transforming this and getting a new food type out. There is one more geyser that I'm going for, which is this one way out here, which is really not in a good spot. But I'll continue to dig out and see if I can find anywhere else that has anything useful and start moving towards some measure of sustainability here. Okay, here's about what we wound up with. By the way, sending the regular poke shells through this seems to only give us oak shells, and it's only, if you send those through, they will just return back with oak shells. So I don't think we can actually go straight to Sani shells. But the reason that this setup is like this is because the likelihood of laying a Sani pinch roe, basically just an egg for one of those, is increased if they dwell in water. So I just filled this up until this stat started to change. I don't know exactly where the threshold is. My guess is either 300 or 350 kilograms of water per tile. That's about when I started seeing it change. So we should start getting a good amount of those in here, and that should help out our food situation quite a bit. Speaking of which, I'm feeling okay. Like, we can rush out a lot of pike apples here. Oh, I need to set this to oxygen to make sure we're not venting that. I'm feeling okay about where we sit right now food-wise, but the thing I don't like is that we're relying so much on these pike apple bushes. I want to eventually phase these out and get onto other things, but we have quite a few things that we need to do. Oh, I guess this is really cold. Ah, get out of there. I'm just excavating some of these fossils so that we can get the fossil to start making some lime and steel and stuff like that. But anyway, so the Sani shells will eventually give us a new food type, and the biggest thing that I want to do is eventually start using a lot of the tallow that we can get from these seals, because the tallow puts out quite a lot. For something like this, this is again just 6 nosh beans, which we'll talk about in just a bit, and some tallow, which is very efficient, is 5,000 calories. That's really good. Same thing with this shellfish tempura, which is what we're going for. Rowan, what are you doing? Are you just deciding to stress us out, or what? This is probably going to be a recurring theme here. Note that we are at 50 duplicants, so we're only halfway to what our goal is. But anyway, geez. Shellfish tempura is going to be our other thing. We have a lot of sleet wheat grain. All of it is naturally growing. The shellfish should start coming down. And these Sani pinch, or Sani shells will... I need to stop letting him come down here. Alright, I'm going to cancel the excavation on this for now. Frostbite is definitely an interesting thing. If your duplicants get frostbite, that means they're... What are you doing? They're going to start getting damaged by the cold. So you can now get damaged by cold just as much as you can get damaged by heat. So that is definitely a thing. Got to get auto out of here so that they don't... These duplicants just love to stress me out. It's great. Okay, anyway, so we've got a terrarium here where the bottom is mostly water, but this area is not. Otherwise, these buildings will get flooded. I'm just dropping in polluted dirt, which we are making plenty of because we have all outhouses right now. So this is the first time I've ever had the outhouses be a core part of our build, but we may stay on outhouses for the rest of the game. I don't know. The plumbed bathrooms only really grant +1 more morale. Obviously, it's a lot of dupe labor, but dupe labor is not something we're going to be short on. We have plenty of duplicants to do that. So if that helps us produce food, and it should for quite a while, we should be in good shape. So there we go. Basically, the shipping system for this is still shipping everything to the center, but any sort of poke shell variant eggs is going to be coming through this bin, and it will be traveling down to a room where they're all just going to collect here, and I will move the Sani shells into these other rooms, or any oak shells or anything else that hatches, until this is eventually all Sani shells and we're putting out a ton of eggs from them. I'm expecting this to be quite lucrative once it all gets up, so we'll see what happens. The other thing for food that we're doing is we're getting out on the map quite a bit, getting into more of these natural sleet wheat areas, which is going to help us out quite a bit. So getting that production up is definitely helpful. And also, I'm going to start getting into these nosh beans. So these nosh beans are something that we can just leave to grow naturally as long as we don't disrupt the temperature or the atmosphere or anything like that. So I'll just kind of keep most of these growing naturally until we have a better option for that. Also, squeaky puffs. We might actually ranch these in this run because food is food and we really need it. So the chlorine vent that we found earlier may actually start coming in handy if we want to start ranching those. But we have a lot more to do out here on the surface before that's a thing that we can start getting onto without it being too much of a pain. So let's also talk about all the other geysers that I found, because there was a lot of them and they're all pretty much useless. Here's an iron volcano. Of course, that's useful, but not right now. Not to help us with food. Here's a copper volcano, also not very helpful for food. I don't think any of us can eat molten copper, but you'd be surprised. Down here, we have a hydrogen vent. That doesn't really help us with food. We have a minor volcano. That's also not food the last time I checked. And I think there was one more thing. Maybe that was it. I think that was all of them. So we really haven't found any useful vents so far to help us out with food. So we're just going to need to continue to scrape by with everything. But again, and like I mentioned before, this setup of these Bamas has still really not paid out. And what I mean by that is none of these initial eggs that got laid by any of those tame Bamas that are in the terrarium right now have hatched. Meaning we have not reached the full cycle in which this will start paying off. So we're still surviving by only all the other food that we're creating. Any of this meat and stuff like that is not a part of our diet right now. So all that being said, I think we'll be okay for at least a little while. I think we have some bigger things to deal with in the meantime. But we will continue to add to our food setup as time goes on. So yeah, that section was really long, only because I'm trying to get out on the map and trying to figure out what we have to deal with. So we've at least seen a good portion of the map. But we haven't really taken advantage of any geysers yet, which is just kind of shocking that we haven't found anything useful. So from this point, I think we're just going to try to stabilize on the food that we have. And the next thing I'm going to be doing is getting out into this space biome. We're going to take one more duplicant because it's almost ready to print. We're going to start getting out here. We're probably going to set up another little mini colony around here that has duplicants that live up here just to take care of the surface parts. It'll be kind of similar to the setup that we did in the spaced out walkthrough, but obviously the surface is huge, so there should be a lot more room to work with. And since my duplicants are very bored, there's not much for them to do right now. It's probably a good time to do that. Let's see, who we take in? I think Nicola's probably the best one here. Doc, whoa, there's no positives on this other Nicola. There's two of them, huh? Yeah, I guess this Nicola's okay. Let's take this. So yeah, what we're going to be doing in the next video is we're going to be getting up into the surface. We're going to be ranching these seals, whether wild or not. I'm not quite sure yet. But we're going to be carving down all of this stuff and establishing a new mini colony here. So we'll have more shipping stuff to do. We will have extra parameters for shipping food around and whatnot. So we'll do something really similar to what we did here, but this one's kind of at its limit, especially for what we need it to do. So I want to have that other colony focus on something different. Obviously, grooming the surface and keeping that under control so we can get a bunch of naturally planted bonbon trees. But there's going to be some other jobs we have them do because there's too many to do here, whether it's just producing power or using our rock crushers, or we might get into more industrial size stuff. But that's a story for another video. This one's definitely getting to time. So thank you very much for watching, and I will be back hopefully in a couple days with the next episode. It's going to start slowing down a little bit, only because it takes a little bit longer to film. And also filming on the weekdays is a lot more difficult because I have a lot less time to do so, but no big deal. So I'll be back as soon as I can with the next part. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon.